Welcome to the Lockdown Life podcast. My name is Jamie Flynn. You can get in touch with me on Twitter at jam_fly. All podcasts are available on our YouTube channel, and while you are there, I would appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button. Today I'm joined by former Limerick FC captain Shane Duggan. Shane, it's been a strange year for everyone. How's the COVID lockdown experience been for a footballer like yourself?
Yeah, look, it's tough times for everyone, especially of young kids here as well. So they're stuck indoors mostly. So it's not easy, trying to keep them entertained. But we try to get out in bits and pieces when we can and try to keep them active, But hopefully times will get better soon, But it's tough, and hopefully the worst is over us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we're all in the same boat here. How are things looking now? The League of Ireland season is due to kick off soon enough now. So I suppose you'll be active again at least.
Yeah, look, that has been brilliant for us. We've been back pre-season now 3 weeks, so it's been great going out training again, getting the fitness levels back up, because for a while there I didn't think we were going to get back training, but luckily enough, they took the restrictions off for elite athletes, so that allowed us to go back training. So this is our 3rd week of pre-season, and things are going well. We had a friendly there Sunday against Flynn, so looking forward for the season. I can't wait.
Yeah, how did you find now going back? I said pre-season is always going to be tough, but in this environment now, especially, how did you find going back and back out in the field?
Yeah, look, I obviously didn't mind it because we were given a program to do in the off season, so we got a lot of our fitness work done in the off season before we went back. So I was keeping really fit, to be honest, by myself. And with lockdown as well, there wasn't much more I can do. Was gave that opportunity. There was no excuses to go out and put in the hard running, and I got a lot of the hard runs done in the off season with the program we were given. So since we were back, we all had a good level of fitness going back into it. So the balls were brought out pretty quickly. It wasn't a case of going back and we were getting killed running, So it was good to go back and handle the ball straight away.
Yeah. Probably a bit different, I suppose, from that point of view. And it was kind of less of the running. Was it mainly, I suppose, with the gyms being closed and all that kind of stuff, a lot of road running you were doing, kind of say pre-season when you were on your own program?
Yeah, definitely. I think over the last few years, it's a case of more maintaining fitness once the season's finished and doing your own running, and the clubs are expecting you to come back to a good level of fitness rather than go back 10-15 years ago. Lads would come back 2 stone overweight, and you wouldn't see a ball for 2 weeks pre-season. It'd be just running and killing yourself. But I think those days have changed. We've been given all individual programs what to do, and we've been nearly doing running and different. I know we weren't allowed into gyms, but we were still getting exercises that we could do, core work and push-ups and all that at home. So no, it was good. And as I said, it benefits you when you go back, because you're at that level of fitness where you can start bringing the balls out and do ball work, and that's what everyone wants to do,
Yeah, absolutely. How was the first touch going back now after a bit of a break?
It took a few days, but I was playing away with the young fellas, so
okay.
I didn't lose it too much.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah. Shane, I just want to step back in time a bit and just kind of go back to your earlier life a bit. How was life growing up for you, and how big is sport in your life as a kid?
Yeah, growing up was brilliant. I probably played every sport under the sun, between hurling, soccer, rugby, Gaelic football. I played them all, and I played them all the way up till I was 14, 15. I think it was when I got to the stage after the Kennedy Cup, the soccer kind of took over everything else, and I took the soccer more serious. I started going over back to England for trials with a lot of clubs, and started to break into the Irish underage setup. So I had to give the rugby and the hurling and Gaelic football a bit of a back step and concentrate on my soccer from under 14, 15s up.
Yeah. I know you're coming from a sporting family. Your dad was a footballer. Was it? Do you think, as you said, you kind of played all sports? And I think it's great for kids to experience kind of everything. looking back now, do you think kind of when you were younger, was football always in the back of your head, or were you ever thinking of kind of committing more to rugby or hurling or Gaelic football or anything like that?
Soccer was always my number one, but I think when you're younger, you might go through spells when the soccer season might be over and you go mad into hurling for a month or two, and
Yeah,
you don't take the hurling. Going to rugby, the same thing, you know. But soccer was always my favourite. But I enjoyed them all, to be honest. I love playing rugby with Richmonds and up at Clahan then as well, because you'd be around everyone that you play soccer with. Usually everyone plays 2 or 3 sports anyway. So
yeah.
well, it did, and you're around all your friends all the time. So soccer was always my favourite. But as I said, I enjoyed all of them.
Yeah, yeah. So it was, definitely a great sport and culture in Limerick. And I said we're lucky to have all the different sports and good cultures in all of them. So you were, kind of as a teenager, so you're saying you kind of were playing Kennedy Cup, getting kind of after that you were getting opportunities going to England. What was your thinking at that time? I know you ended up going over to Plymouth for a while. What were you kind of thinking at that 15, 16, 17 kind of age?
Yeah, it was strange, but when I played on my schoolboy football at Fairview, and then from the Kennedy Cup, I started getting picked for the Irish team, and I was going over and back to a couple of clubs in England. But I never registered really that I had the opportunity to go over and play their full team. You know, I never thought in the back of my head, you could be moving over here in another year or two. You're still young, and it was all new. And when I signed for Plymouth, it was a bit of a shock to the system, because I was going up with Fairview, probably training twice a week and playing a match to full-time training, something that was totally new to me. I wasn't really aware of what it took, you know, because it was a shock trying to learn the game from a different perspective. I was going as a kid from training twice a week in Fairview, and when I was playing matches at Fairview, I'd be just running everywhere, I'd play midfield, but literally running everywhere in the pitch. I wouldn't know positioning wise and stuff, but going over to full-time training, you get to learn that. So it took me a while, but I got up to speed. It was just the understanding the game from a better point of view.
Yeah. I think it's definitely it's tough. It's when you look back and when you think what you were like at kind of 16, 17, and it's hindsight's a great thing, but so just kind of trying to make those decisions at that age is always kind of tough. I said you touching your kind of learning experience there with Plymouth, very much kind of a positional positional point of view, I think, is what you picked up most there. Is that what you reckon?
I got a good understanding of the game, something that I had no idea of going over. I thought just go out in the field and play, but to learn that you have to be in certain positions in the pitch when you don't have the ball, or when you do have the ball, you know, there's something new to me, but something I picked up because I was listening and learning every day and training, but it spread into them over there from a very young age. They're from under 9s, 10s up to have an academy, and they're training properly from a very young age, and even their first touch, awareness on the ball, and to have that from a young age, you know, I felt we didn't have that growing up over here, but I think now the coaching system over here is getting a lot better, and you can see from the FEI they're trying to make things more professional from a very young age with the coaching and stuff. And I think in the next couple of years it's going to benefit all the young lads coming through. Yeah,
absolutely. I think so. It's evident now. I said kids being taught how to play from a young age. Definitely, especially from kind of a tactical point of view or whatever. You kind of get a better understanding of the game. What was your experience kind of arriving over in Plymouth kind of early on?
To be honest, the first 2 or 3 weeks I was like, oh, I can't wait to get home. I literally used to check any times a day off when I get to fly back to Limerick, but after a while you get used to it. There was another couple of Irish lads there as well, so they made it a bit easier, but that first few weeks was terrible, you know. I used to always just think, no way I'm going to be able to stay over here. And I always used to think back in my head, when I'll be back. And it's probably not the right attitude, but when you're a young lad going over and you have that homesickness, it's not easy, you know.
Yeah. Jesus. Yeah. It's very tough to I said you're just thrown in at the deep end. What was the living situation like there? Was it kind of big apartments or?
No, we had a big house. There was about 9 or 10 of us living in a big 3-story house. But most of the English lads, they'd go home on the weekend. So there might be just 2 or 3 of us left in for the weekend. While the rest of the lads went to different parts of England, or they might live 2 hours away. So they'd stay there on a Monday to Friday. They'd get to go home in for the weekends, where there might be 2 or 3 foreign lads, they'd stay there then all weekend.
Okay, yeah. And how'd you find? Did you
Well,
enjoy it?
You'd have good laughs, like good company with the lads. But the weekends got a bit tough, all right. But after a couple of weeks that I signed, there was 2 other Irish lads signed there as well. Damien McCrory from Croom as well signed, so it made things a lot easier for me.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Then just from a playing point of view, how'd you find that? Was it tough competition?
Oh, it was good. I enjoyed that. Like, I got up training with the first team a lot. When I first signed, it was Paul Sturrock. No, Tony Pulis was the manager when I first signed. I think I was there a week, and then he moved to Stoke, and Ian Holloway came in. And, he was mad. Mad as he was, but he was there then. And when he left, Paul Sturrock was he came in. Paul Sturrock was the manager, and that's when I ended up leaving the club then after Paul Sturrock. Yeah.
Okay. How did so you're over there for about 2 or 3 years, I think, was it?
2 years.
Yeah. How did that come about then? Kind of the end of the time at Plymouth.
Well, I was doing really well. Like when I was playing most weeks, then I'd be up around the reserves, the first team training, and Paul Sturrock, he used to start putting me left back, or he'd put me into the middle the odd times in training sessions and stuff. But when he wasn't offering me a new contract, he basically just said to me, he doesn't think I'm going to get into his team in the next few months to a year. But he says he'd get me to a League One club if I wanted.
Okay.
But at that time, my head was gone, you know. I just says, no, it's all right. I ended up getting the next playing back to Ireland. But looking back at it now, I probably should have took his help and advice. You know, he could have got me to a League One club. And how many times have you seen players drop down through the leagues and end up coming back up, you know? So especially in England, it can happen. It can happen so fast. But no, I just got on the plane and straight back to Ireland.
Yeah.
Looking back, should have took him up in that offer.
Yeah. So was it
only at the time, like, so if it was a case of if he got me to a League One club, it's still a really good standard.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Looking back, was it? Do you think were you pissed off? Were you annoyed? Were you homesick? What was your feeling?
A bit pissed off, to be honest, because every time I was playing, training and stuff, I was doing really well, and when I was playing games with the reserves, I was doing really well. It's just never got that opportunity with the first team, really, and no, my head was gone when he said that. So I just ended up getting the plane back.
Yeah. So you came back. Yeah, you came back. UCD was your first club back in Ireland. How did you find that, and how your first kind of experience of senior football?
It was Declan Considine. He got in touch with me, Pete Mahon. He knew Pete Mahon at the time, the UCD manager, and he's asked me would I be interested in going up. And I wasn't too sure at first. And Pete Mahon called down to my house then in Limerick, and I met up with him. But there was only 10 games left in the Premier Division at the time. I think it was around the end of July that I was back from England. So I ended up signing for them till the end of the season, and there was 10 games left, and I ended up playing in pretty much most of those games in the Premier Division League of Ireland. So it was a good learning curve, good introduction to the League of Ireland for me. It was a good standard as well. Most of the clubs were full-time at the time, and I was only 18, 19, and I was playing most weeks from, so it was a good learning curve for me.
Yeah. I remember I was reading a couple of articles you did there, and you were saying the average age in the League of Ireland at the time was kind of a bit different to what it is now. So said you were going in, you really were going in like senior football up against like full-time professionals, adults that are playing like the whole time. Said UCD is definitely a good club for kind of the young guys. Definitely an experience that probably stood to you in the long run.
Yeah, that was it. But in our reserve league over in England, we played a couple of local teams from around the region, so they were all men as well. Like kind of,
yeah.
I wouldn't say they were League of Ireland standard, probably a bit lower, but I was used to playing in men's football from when I was only 16, 17 in those leagues. But No, it was very good. Our first game we used to do was against St. Pat's. I think Keith Fahey did a serious team at the time. Ended up beating us 3-0. I was like, that's my introduction to the League of Ireland. But I think it was just UCD at the time. They had probably the youngest squad in the league. But other than that, the clubs, they were all full professionals, players coming over from different countries, from England. There was a lot of money in the league at the time. Some lads were getting paid a fortune, you know. So it was a very good league back then as well. And there wasn't many young fellas coming through outside of UCD.
Yeah. So the season, I said you played the last few games that season with UCD, and Cork City come calling then.
Yeah, Paul Doolan got the Cork City job. He got on to me to go down training with them. I was down training for a week and he signed me up then. So he signed an unbelievable squad that year, to be fair to him. We should have won the league, to be honest with you. I think it was halfway through the season and we were 9 or 10 points clear, but unfortunately the club went into liquidation. Boys weren't getting paid, and a lot of players left. Colin Healy went to Ipswich, Joe Gamble, Dennis Bean, they went to Hartlepool, and a few others left, and it was a bit of a shambles the second half of the season. We still managed to finish third, but we ended up getting kicked out of the league then. We finished third, Derry finished fourth, and us and Derry got kicked out of the league. So no, I think if the club was run properly and they kept the majority of the squad, we could have pushed on and won the league that year, because we were flying, and there was a serious squad there as well.
Yeah.
I was only around 19 and I was playing most weeks as well, so it was brilliant.
Yeah. Said that it's just the nature of the League of Ireland. I think with just, you know what I mean, clubs are in trouble, and it's every club has been in that boat at some stage or another, I think. But I said, like playing, training with the likes, you know, the likes of Colin Healy, Dennis B, and these guys. Again, just still very young player. Great learning experience, and the fact you're getting out on the pitch playing with these guys regularly as well.
Well, it was a different experience from my UCD days, because UCD it was mostly young lads and trying to produce players, and you're just going out playing. But we went down to Cork City, they were all full-time professionals, where it was a case of they have to get 3 points every week. It wasn't a case of, you have to go out and develop. It was get the 3 points, and that was the most thing that matters, you know. So it was a different learning curve for me, but I enjoyed it. I loved the boys that was there. I loved playing with the lads, and there was a great bunch of professional players there, and the standard was really high as well.
Yeah, if there was anything specific that you took from that time, was it a mental thing, physical thing, tactical, technical? What was
players that were there, and a lot of them played at the highest level. You looked at Colin Healy, played with Celtic, played in the Premiership in England, and he was still probably in his late 20s, early 30s, and then you'd Paul Doolan. He was probably one of the best League of Ireland players, and he was managing the team, so he had an unbelievable experience and knowledge of the game as well, and he was a midfielder, which taught me a lot. And it was a brilliant learning curve for me, and I was lucky enough to play a lot of the games that year as well.
Yeah. How would you describe your style as a player? So you were kind of a central midfielder the whole way through. What would you say your kind of style was developing as around that time in your career?
Well, I was a box-to-box midfielder, and I was always trying to chip in and get goals. I wouldn't get involved with the play as much back then. I was more so getting into the box and getting on the end of things. Whereas the older I got, I was trying to improve my overall game, where you get involved in the game and join the play as well, and try chipping with goals. There was I think you need to have that as a midfielder. You have to do a bit of both. I know a lot of times now people are saying, you have to be a 6 or you have to be a number 10, but I think you can do a bit of both, especially if you have the legs. I had a good engine on me, so I could get up and down.
Yeah. I think it is the I suppose the formations and that kind of stuff dictates a lot, and some managers want players just sitting, and some want them getting in the box a lot. But definitely I remember when I was seeing you kind of later on in your career at the Market Field with Limerick. Definitely, you always seemed to be just a good old fashioned, box to box midfielder, kind of did a bit of everything, which I think for the central midfielders, that's what you want, really. You want to be a good all round footballer,
Well, at times, if a manager tells me play 6, like I'd be in the sixth and I try my hardest, but sometimes I'm just like, I want to leave the reins off there and try to get in the do something. I find it hard to just fall down and just sit in one position. But I'll probably bring that back to my Fairview days where you just run free and play all over the pitch, really.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. So yeah, the after the season with Cork, as said, the club, Joe, for non-footballing reasons, the club went back down to the first division. Lot of changes, a lot of players left. You decided to stay with the club and try and help them gain promotion back up to the Premier League. Yeah,
so that was my first when I played with Cork a lot that season. So I had a few offers to stay in the Premier Division with a few clubs, but I decided, because Tommy Dunn was the assistant at the time to Paul Doolan, but he got the manager's job with Cork, so he was on to me the whole time, and I just said I'd stick with him. And our second season, we won the league against Shelbourne, so we came straight back to the Premier Division then. That was an unbelievable night as well. Beat Shells up there last game of the season to win the league and get promoted. So I ended up staying with Cork then 5 seasons. And I loved my time down there. It's a great club, great city, and I really enjoyed my time down there.
Yeah, you're living down in Cork, I assume, during this. Yeah.
No, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. I said this guy, it is similar to Limerick, I suppose, in that like big sport and culture down there. And I know, geez, even when they were when they were really going well over the last while, getting big crowds to games, and said just a really sporting mad city.
Yeah, look, they love their sports, and it's not just soccer. Like, they love rugby, hurling, soccer, everything, And if you're doing well, the crowds will come out. We see now in the Marcus Field there, and a good few occasions, will be 4,000 or 5,000 people down there. So soccer in this city is mad, and I think if you're doing well, the crowds will come out and support.
Absolutely, yeah. So you're with Cork. Would you say the highlight was that promotion season, or is there any particular kind of games you'd pick out?
No, that game was good because I think Shelbourne needed a draw. We had to beat them. The Shelbourne got the draw. They won the league, and it was the 98th minute, 94th minute. They had the champagne out in the dugout and everything ready to pop it, and Derek O'Brien just whipped the ball in for Graham Cummins' header, literally in 94th minute, and the place erupted. There was a massive crowd up there from Cork as well, so that was an unbelievable feeling.
Yeah. So the Limerick, October 2013, your hometown club gets in contact with you. Limerick was Stuart Taylor. I think he just come in, or was he was there a while? Was he?
He was there. He was there the year before.
Yeah.
I think there was about 4 or 5 months left of my contract, but he was ringing me the whole time about going up to Limerick, and Cork wanted me to sign another long-term deal as well. But I think at the time we ended up losing a couple of players with Cork as well. Darren Horgan left, Gerard Marcy went to England, and there was talks of a few others leaving. So, and then Limerick were on the up as well, and obviously being my hometown club, I spoke to Stuart Taylor, and I was delighted that he wanted me to sign for Limerick and to get back home as well. But it was tough because I really did enjoy my time in Cork. But if it was any other club but Limerick, I don't think I would have left, to be honest.
Yeah. The look, it was the timing of it. I think Limerick were on the up. Things were looking very prosperous at the time for Limerick. Had a bit of a budget, signing some good players, so probably a good timing to join Limerick.
Yeah, and look, everything that Stuart Taylor was saying to me, he had a budget, and they were really pushing for a European spot, and being my hometown club, I was delighted to be a part of it.
Yeah, I know your dad used to play for Limerick back in the most successful period in football in the city. Even what was so I suppose, like, what was your kind of just your memories of that as a kid, and how much did he influence you?
Yeah, well, I never got to see him play with Limerick really. He was retired from Limerick when I was growing up, but I seen him play with Fairview for a number of years growing up, and I used to love going up to all the games every Sunday with him, So But everywhere you go, you'd hear stories of when Limerick were winning the league and FBI Cup, and even to now, if you're walking down the road, or he gets stopped constantly, like people he knows from around the city, because that group of players they're legends of the city, and they should be, that success they had. It was phenomenal to get to play against Real Madrid as well. So great times back then, and hopefully in the future Limerick can bring it back again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I interviewed Brendan Storn in this podcast before as well. And just talking to him about kind of that period, kind of late 70s, early 80s of Limerick. And for someone like me now, kind of looking back, it's absolutely phenomenal to think, Joe. I said, like, obviously playing against Real Madrid being the highlight, but winning leagues, winning FAI Cups, brilliant for a town like Limerick.
Yeah, brilliant. They played against Southampton when Kevin Keegan was there. I think they drew them over their 1-1, so it's unbelievable times. And I think we probably take it for granted, but when you look back at some of the achievements they had, it was unbelievable. Yeah,
absolutely. And I said by any standards, by any kind of Irish club standards, not just obviously the best time in Limerick's history, but they said it's up there with any of the great stories of kind of Irish clubs. Sorry, say that again.
They are Limerick lads as well. They were on the team, so
yeah, exactly. Absolutely, yeah. You're back in Limerick. Getting into the swing of things. Were you made captain your first season back?
Yeah, he made me captain the first year I was back. Unbelievable honour as well. It wasn't, to be honest with you, there was a lot of experienced lads still in the dressing room, and when he came to me and asked me would I like to be captain, it was no brainer really for me. It was unbelievable honour. You
were with Limerick for 5 years, I think it was. You had plenty of ups and downs, I suppose, in that period. But as I said, just from my own memory of it, you were definitely that kind of cornerstone of the team in that period. I said there was good days, there was bad days, promotions, relegations. You were there throughout it all, though. I suppose kind of early on, what were the ambitions for Limerick at the time, and what were people kind of thinking in around the club?
Well, it was very frustrating because the first year we were there. The first year we were there, I think we finished 6th, just a couple of points off 5th. And we had a very strong squad. We had a couple of injuries that year as well. And I thought, keep that squad and add another 2 or 3 players, we'd be really having a push for Europe.
Yeah.
But after that first year, we ended up getting rid of the majority of the squad. And we started the next season. The squad, it was down to bare bones. A lot of young lads that never played in the league before. We got a couple of players from junior as well, and we didn't win a game for 19 or 20 games or something. We were bottom of the table. Then we ended up signing 7 or 8 players again. We went on an unbelievable run. We brought us to the last game of the season against Sligo. If we beat Sligo and Drogheda had lost, we would have made the playoffs. We would have come off the bottom of the table and Drogheda would have got relegated. So we had Sligo the last game of the season. And we beat Sligo up there. So the only time we were off the bottom of the league was that last game of the season. And we ended up playing Finn Harps in the playoff. And what a roller coaster ride of the season. You think about it, we go from that big run to making the playoffs, then beating Finn Harps at home, and then going up to lose the playoff to get relegated. It was a crazy season. But the frustrating part was losing all the players from the year before, because I felt add another 2 or 3 players to that squad, we definitely would be pushing for a European spot. Could have gone from strength to strength from year after year, but that was my time at Limerick. I think you were up and then you'd be down again, you'd be back up. And it was just frustrating. We never really got that opportunity to just keep kicking on step by step, progression. But that was the most frustrating part.
I remember at the time just thinking that it seemed that they were kind of there was a budget one year and it kind of went from 100 to 0 each year, and it just felt it was tough to keep that consistency. kind of from just from the player's point of view, obviously there's a lot of stuff going on in the background you're not aware of, you might not be paying attention to. But I said that kind of first year, you're big enough budget, plenty of good players in the squad. Then it moves to, as I said, a really depleted squad. Are you just keeping your head down, like focusing on the football, or what's the feeling in around the squad with the players?
Well, it's frustrating because when you're not winning games, it can be tough, and when you sign for a team, and it's your hometown club, but you have that ambition to try push on for European places, you go from that to fighting from relegation, It does mentally play in you. And I was still in my mid-20s at the time, so I was thinking, am I wasting my time here, just like a yo-yo going up and down, and the year we got relegated, I was so close to re-signing for Cork again under John Caulfield. But if it wasn't for the fact that he stayed full-time when we went down to the first division, and he was keeping most of the boys were staying, I just wanted to try to get the club back up to the Premier Division. I wouldn't have been happy leaving after relegated. So I was met with John Caulfield over the weekend, and he thought I was going down to sign, but I said, look, John, just give me the weekend to think about it. And my head was fried over the weekend. I didn't know what to do, but I ended up down at Limerick, and we got promoted in that following year. I think Cork and Dan won the Premier Division. So I missed out with Cork, but I wouldn't have changed it.
I said, going from that season of losing or not winning a game for whatever 20 games, and then the following season, then it was nearly a perfect record, I think, up until I think, did you win 10, 15, 20 games in a row nearly in that first division winning season?
I was, as I said, we were full time, and we kept the majority of the squads, and we added another couple from the year that we finished the league with. So we had a very strong squad for that division. You think in most games, it was three, it wasn't even close. It was 3-4-0 games every week, and even our rivals were probably UCD at the time, and we were still beating them 3-4-0. So I think it was halfway through the season, we were about 20 points there. But then again, we went up and ended up losing a couple of players again. So it was just frustrating.
I said, it definitely it seems, again, from the outside, it's easy me saying now from the outside looking in, but it definitely seemed like I just couldn't understand. It felt like you're spending money when you're probably better off saving money, and then you're saving money when you need to spend money. So it definitely, from a fan's point of view as well, it seemed frustrating. It seemed difficult because, as I said, you want to kind of build year on year, but when you're going from this kind of zigzag of bringing in players, letting players go, I know, look, it's tough manage these clubs, but that definitely was my feeling on it.
Yeah, definitely. And look, Pat O'Sullivan, he was in there on his own, and in fairness to him, it was unbelievable for him to try to keep it going on his own, and he tried his hardest. Being out in Thomond Park, and it was costing him a fortune. And we brought over lads from England who were probably on big wages. Half of them didn't even deliver, to be honest with you. So on a financial terms, it was, for one man, it's almost impossible.
And look, it's the age-old story in the League of Ireland as well. It's there hasn't been a businessman or a kind of a club sponsor that seems to have gotten it right yet. So I definitely, I think it's important to appreciate it's a tough job.
In places every year to make that money, when you look at the likes of Dundalk and Shamrock Rovers, they can spend big money because when they're in European, they're making the money back, so it's hard, and especially if you're a full-time club and if you haven't got the biggest of fan bases. It's okay if you're getting 4,000 or 5,000 every week in the gates, but that's not a guarantee either. So no, it's almost impossible for one man to do it on his own.
Yeah, absolutely. During that period with Limerick, the FAI Cup run as well. What was your feeling that season? Yeah,
that was always one thing that I would have loved to have got. I would love to got to an FAI Cup final with Limerick. We were close a couple of occasions. That's the thing with the cup, you just never know. You could have the worst league run, but if you get a good draws in the look, it's only 5 or 6 games and you could be playing in the final, and it's something that I would have loved, but it never came to the semis, obviously, and we got to the final of the League Cup, which was an unbelievable occasion as well.
Yeah.
They're the occasion being, especially with Limerick, because the crowds are going to come out. An unbelievable occasion for the League Cup final in Marks Field. There must have been over 5,000 people down there, and the atmosphere was unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely. It was incredible. Said the Limerick fan base, when it's going well, they're definitely great supporters to have on side. The time Limerick came to an end then for you, and Waterford was your next club. So again, Limerick was kind of difficult times for Limerick. How did things go for you there when you left Limerick to join Waterford?
Yeah, like that. Rennie and Reynolds was on to me, and Waterford were flying. They were in Europe for that year as well. Well, they qualified for Europe, and I just knew my time was up with Limerick. To be honest with you, it was the club was a mess at the time, and a lot of stuff was happening off the pitch, and so I had an opportunity to play European football. So I said I'd give it one last chance. I know I was down in Waterford. It was a bit of a trek from Limerick, but when I went down there, I loved it down in Waterford. Rennie's top manager, got on really well with him, and the only downfall there is we didn't get to play in Europe either. We ended up getting kicked out of that. So I don't know how my luck is, but because things don't seem to fall to me too easy, But playing wise, played nearly every game, and I loved down there. Facilities, train, everything was top notch. The only downside was the travelling, nearly 2 hours up and down most days for me. So
yeah, the trip from Limerick to Waterford is probably my least favourite drive. Is getting to Clonmel is long enough now, but going on to Waterford is it's a tough trip.
That's the only downside for me. Other than that, I loved it down there. And to be fair to Reddy, he was good to me as well. If I ever needed a day off or needed a rest, he'd give me the day off training as well. So in fairness, he was very good to me.
Yeah. I suppose taking the old motorway up to Galway is definitely a bit easier than taking the road to Waterford. So that might have factored into your decision to move to Galway. So you've been there now for the last while. How are you finding that?
Yeah, I'm loving it. Last year was probably a bit easier because there were 3 or 4 of us travelling together, but I'm the only one now at the moment travelling up and down, so there's no carpool. But no, I love it. As I said, it's only an hour. Sorry, I don't know my battery. See me?
Yeah.
My battery's nearly gone there.
Okay.
But it's an hour up the road, and I met up with manager John Caulfield, so I tried to play. Well, I tried to sign for him a couple of times, and it came through this year when he took over the manager's job. So I love playing with him as well. He's top manager, and he's mad for success. And I think Galway in the next couple of years they'll start bringing success there.
Yeah. What's the so said it's kind of going into this new season and in this new world that we're all in kind of now. I suppose what's the expectations, what's the ambitions now over the next year or two for Galway and yourself?
Well, we're full-time training now at the moment, so we're training every morning. I think the ambition for John and everyone at the club is to get promoted. It's we came very close last year. We lost the playoff final, but definitely for the club this year, it's promotion.
Yeah.
If we can win the league, bonus. But the main aim is just to get back to the Premier Division.
Yeah. So the first game is 3 weeks away now. Is it something like that?
26. We're playing Shells, but that might be. We're supposed to play them at home, but I think there's a mistake to fixtures because there's a few games being played in DC Park, so that might be changed to Shelbourne's pitch. We're not too sure yet, but that should be a great game because they signed a lot of players this year as well, so be a tough one.
Yeah. Sure. Look, as I said, I'm sure you're looking forward to it anyway. Just getting back out on the pitch, playing football again.
That's it. Yeah. Look, you don't realise how much you miss it until you can't be out to playing. And you take nothing for granted now. Every time, even in training, I'm enjoying every day of it. Can't wait to get back playing matches.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Well, Shane, thanks a million for joining me today. Said best of luck for the rest of the season, and I hope it treats you well.
No problem. Thanks very much.